this is Sean McGowan for Acoustic Guitar Magazine. In this lesson, we're going to be exploring harmonics, one of my favorite techniques on the guitar. This lesson will include examples and strategies to play both natural harmonics and artificial harmonics. So go ahead and grab your guitar and let's get started. All right, so let's start off with natural harmonics. So natural harmonics indicates notes that we can access that are basically harmonic overtones above a fundamental note. So a fundamental note would just be one note, like in this case, like say the low E string. So every note has a whole series of harmonic overtones, and we can access those by different areas on the neck. The most common harmonics that most guitar players learn to start with are the ones on the 12th fret, which give us an octave. Harmonics on the 7th fret, which is like an octave plus a fifth, and then the harmonics on the 5th fret, which gives 2 octaves. And there are lots of songs that we all know and love that utilize this technique of natural harmonics. Of course, Roundabout by Yes is an obvious one that most of us start playing. You know, you might remember that intro. And so on. So it's a great technique. It's been utilized over the years by literally every great guitarist in all styles of music: bluegrass, classical guitar, jazz, rock, pop, etc., etc. So let's just talk about how to actually play a harmonic. So the concept behind this, we can think of our string as kind of like a line, and that line is stopped on this side with the nut, and down here with the saddle of the bridge. So these are the 2 points. So if we think of that as a specific length, along the length of that string, we have what some people refer to as nodes. And if we access those points or those nodes, we can get various harmonic overtones. So the key when you're actually playing this, of course with your plucking hand, you can use a pick or your fingers, it doesn't matter, thumb pick, whatever. And with your fretting hand, it's very important that when you play a harmonic, your fingertip is touching the string, but you're not pressing down like you normally would for a fret. So, for example, if I go to the 12th fret here, I'm just touching it, and you can see that I can actually pull my finger away. So what you want to do is grab that string with the flesh of your fingertips, could be any finger, and also you want to position it right directly over the fret. So this is another thing that's different from a normal fretting technique where you want to, press down and fret the string in between the 2 actual frets. In this case, if we're on the 12th fret, and you can use your indicators, look for the dots for a reference point, you want to go to the fret that's just to the right. So this is actually over the 12th fret, and you can play, just basically shadow your fingertip over that, and then once you've connected with the string, you're touching it, but you're not pressing down, you can pluck it, and then release the finger, and you should have that. So in example 1, we're just looking at the most common and easy to play harmonics located on the 12th, 7th, and 5th frets. So the first thing you want to do is just basically, for the 12th fret, position your finger over that actual fret, and you're not pressing down, but you need to have enough contact so that it rings. So don't, sometimes people get off it too fast, like, even if you do that, it'll still ring out. So then position your finger over the 7th fret, and then finally the 5th fret. So example 1 just showcases these 3 harmonics that occur naturally on every string. So here they are: 12th fret, 7th fret, 5th fret. And a quick little tip with some of these higher harmonics, such as the 5th fret and beyond, it's easier to pull the harmonic out of the string by picking closer to the bridge, a little harder. So the next measure is on the A string, 12th fret, 7th, 5th. The D string, 12, 7, 5. Next is the G string, B string, and then finally the high E string. So again, that's a pretty high note right there on the 5th fret. So you can want to, maybe want to position your hand a little closer to the bridge to get that to ring out a little bit more. Okay, so of course we can play pairs of harmonics, or even, you know, 3 or more notes, little harmonic chords. And you can pick both notes or use a hybrid technique, which is what I just did, using the pick and middle finger. And what's cool about this technique is that the harmonics, you know, you can remove your finger from the string, but the harmonics keep ringing. So it's similar to if we were playing piano and we had that sustain pedal. So generally speaking, with a lot of these examples, you want to allow the harmonics to sustain and just ring on for as long as you desire, because that's part of the you know, what makes this technique really cool is the fact that it will sustain and you don't have to physically hold it down. So, you know, with that in mind, you can get these nice textures overlapping. The second part of example 2 now skips strings. So we have the 12th fret, 7th, and these little things can make like nice intros, as with roundabout, little guitar breaks, or maybe the end of a song. So if we take a look at example 3, now we've got 4 harmonics in a row. This is a little trickier, but what you want to do with this, in this case we have the 7th fret, and then the top 4 strings for the 12th fret. And to play that, whatever finger you're using, whether it's the index finger or the middle finger, you want to try to keep that finger as straight as possible. You don't want to curve it, because then the harmonics will be muted. So you want it to be nice and straight and right over the fret. And as an example, you might want to try example 3, for example, with all these different fingers. So maybe first finger, and then maybe first finger and third finger. So just experiment with that. We can take this a step further, as shown in example 4, and actually create chord voicings using some of these harmonics. So example 4 utilizes natural harmonics on the D, G, and B strings on the 7th fret, which actually work out very well, very nicely in the key of G major or E minor. So we have those diatonic chords here. So example 4, you can play these together or apart. We've got a natural note in the bass, and then the harmonics on top. D over A, B minor 7, D over C, D, D over E. We can also do this with the 12th fret harmonic. So the next chord would be E minor. The top 3 strings actually give us an E minor triad. We can do that over an A string, D, C, get this nice C major 9 chord, G6, and then kind of an F major 7 Lydian sound. So there's all kinds of possibilities to tap into when you explore this technique for chords, double stops, little breaks, and so on. Okay, continuing with examples on how to incorporate natural harmonics into your songs, example 5 shows various harmonics occurring on the 12th and 7th frets, mixed again with natural bass notes. So you can use this to explore some really cool chord sounds. So let's check this out. We've got example 5. So we've got this really cool little progression, G6 to B minor 7 to A sus4. And again, you can do this with a pick or picking fingers, or even finger style. I'll do it just with my fingers this time. And you can use your thumb to strum those harmonics if you want. That's one way to do it. Or you can actually use 3 fingers to pluck those. It just gives you a different sound. So example 5 again is... Example 6 shows an example of a way to, you know, maybe end a song or end a part of a song, end a verse with just kind of a cool little, you know. Could even be a riff for a song. So it's lots of fun to explore these harmonics, especially in the keys of G major, C major will work very well, E minor, A minor. So the open strings, which is a natural connection because the harmonics occur on the open strings. A lot of flat pickers like to incorporate harmonics sometime at the end of the song, or maybe with some kind of a run, is illustrated in example 7. So maybe you can just kind of like do some type of a G run and then just finish it off with a harmonic as such. So example 7 is... And it's just kind of cool to let that harmonic ring. Example 8 is just another variation, now using the 7th fret harmonics right before the 12th fret. So now example 8 is... And because that harmonic on the 12th fret will ring out, you can go back to that low G if you want it. So it's kind of a fun way to end the song. Example 9 showcases both the 12th and 7th fret harmonics played together in a way that you can actually get a minor pentatonic scale, in this case an E minor pentatonic, which is a really cool technique. So when you're playing this example 9, what you want to do is use your first finger on the fretting hand to play the 7th fret, and I think the pinky to play the 12th fret. So you're kind of bouncing back and forth between that 7th fret and that 12th fret. And the whole thing played together in example 9 is this. So a little slow is 12th, 7th on the G, 12th on the B, skip down to the D string. Just repeat that pattern. And you can understand why some people call this the harp guitar technique. You know, it sounds kind of like a harp with that natural sustain, so it's really nice. So again, example 9. Finally, example 10 shows how you can kind of access some other notes within the single string. So it starts off with our octave and 5th, but we can also get some other notes in there. So what we're doing is just, again, using the same technique where we're lightly touching the string, but we're not pressing down. So we've got our open string, octave on 12th, 5th on 7th, 2 octaves on 5th, and then we can keep going right over the 4th. We get a major 3rd. A little out of tune, but these are the natural harmonic overtones. Over the 3rd fret will give you, again, you want to pick closer to the bridge to get that note to come out. It's like a 5th 2 octaves above, and then finally a 9th. So we get this kind of a thing. And we can do that on any string. So it's lots of fun to incorporate that as part of a song. Okay, now we're ready to explore artificial harmonics. So the concept is the same here. We're accessing different nodes and different points on the string. But what we're going to do is use notes other than the open strings. So this will give us access to a lot more chords, obviously. So if we take a look at example 11, we could start off with a bar chord. So this is just a G minor bar chord, regular form. And the concept is exactly like with natural harmonics, that basically we'll start with accessing the octave, which would be 1 octave or 12 frets higher from where we're actually fretting. So this is a little trickier, but it's the exact same concept. So what you want to do, so for example, you know, the 12th fret natural harmonics were 1 octave and 12 frets higher than the open string. So if we're going to play a G on the 3rd fret, we need to think and look up 12 frets, which is 1 octave, which in this case would be the 15th fret, and use your fret markers, your dots on the side to help you. But you find that 15th fret, and then you're going to use a slightly different technique, but the same harmonic is there. So wherever you are, you just go up, you know, an octave, and you'll be able to get the harmonic. So let's take a look at the technique involved. Again, you can use a pick, or a thumb pick is really nice to use with this technique. Or I really like using fingerstyle because it's just a lot easier. So here are the two techniques based on whether you're using a flat pick or fingerstyle. If you're using your fingers, basically what I do is I use the index finger, and the flesh of the fingertip is going to be making the harmonic. So that, just like you did with your fretting hand in the earlier examples with natural harmonics, you're going to be using your fretting hand, in my case it's my right hand, to sound the harmonic, and then I use my thumb to pluck the string. So basically, I've got my G fretted, I'm finding it up here, I'm pointing over the fret itself, so the 15th fret. I'm not pressing down, but I'm touching the string, and then I'm using my thumb to actually pluck it. And that's the harmonic. And just like with natural harmonics, they'll sustain by themselves. If you're using a pick, what I like to do, and you can try different techniques to see what works for you, but when I'm playing harmonics with a pick, I actually like to hold the pick between my thumb and middle finger so I can still use my index finger to shadow the harmonic, so to speak. So I've got the harmonic, and then I'll just use the pick to pluck the string. So example 11, again, we've got a G minor chord. Now, one quick thing to note, notice that with our fretting hand, we've got, some notes on the 3rd fret and then 2 other notes on the 5th fret. So what you need to do is basically kind of like imagine that chord shape up 12 frets and draw it. Like you can see what your hand would look like if you were making that G minor chord. So basically you want to match those harmonics. So it would be like this. Now I'm going up to the 17th fret, 17th fret on the D string. Now I'm going back to the 15th, 15, 15. So I'm using this hand to actually draw whatever chord shape my fretting hand is doing. So that's it. Or as I mentioned a minute ago, I think it's a little easier using, if you're going to play a lot of harmonics in the context of like a fingerstyle piece, just to use your thumb to play the harmonics. And just as with natural harmonics, those notes will just ring out, and it's a really beautiful effect to use in maybe a ballad or as an intro, anything like that. If we take a look at the second half of example 12, we can also grab the 5th, which gives you a really nice effect. So this would be the equivalent of the 7th fret harmonics with natural harmonics on the open string. So example 12 starts off just like example 11. We're fretting a G minor bar chord, and we're going to play those octave harmonics. But you can also go down to whatever the 5th is. So in this case, D is the 5th of G, so we can move our fingers to what would look like a D minor shape and play the same harmonic. So here's example 12. And it just gives you some nice textures. So again, now the rule is wherever you are, whatever you're fingering with your fretting hand, you can draw that shape, so to speak, play the harmonics up 12 frets, or you can play it what would be the equivalent of the 5th. So basically the halfway point. So because D is the 5th of G, we can play that same shape up to the 5th, which would be on the 10th fret, 10, 12. So it just gives you some extra notes to use. And because they all sustain together, it's a really nice technique. Just a quick side note, something that works for me that you may want to try out. Sometimes if I'm playing fingerstyle, I might use the middle finger and or the ring finger on this hand to just kind of brace, give a little anchor here. So a lot of times I might just hold it at the, kind of at the rim of the fretboard there just to stabilize my hand. It just makes it a little easier. So just something to explore. All right, if we take a look at example 13, now we're mixing natural harmonics with artificial harmonics. And basically the only difference is natural harmonics occur on open strings. Artificial harmonics occur or happen with fretted notes. It's that simple. So if we have kind of a common A minor 7 chord, we have a combination of open strings and fretted notes. So again, the technique and the concept is the same. You're basically just drawing that A minor chord up 12 frets. It would look like that. And you're going to do that, these fingers. So we've got natural, artificial, natural, artificial, and natural. So that's a really nice technique to get into, just basically plucking out these notes one at a time to get either an octave or an octave plus a fifth. Okay, in example 14, we can use other techniques to grab these harmonics, and a lot of contemporary fingerstyle acoustic players. I'm thinking specifically of players such as Michael Hedges and Alex DeGrassi, and more contemporary players such as Andy McKee will use these kind of extended techniques to get these harmonics. So example 14 shows a slap harmonic. And what that is just basically using the index finger to just basically bounce off that 12th fret. It just kind of gives you a different sound, that's all. A lot of times with contemporary acoustic fingerstyle techniques, it's in tandem with some kind of a, you know, like a, that kind of a thing. Electric rock players have been using this for a long time. You know, Eddie Van Halen, of course, used a lot of tapping techniques, and he used slap harmonics as well. So it's a real fun technique to explore. Example 15 takes it one step further. Because these harmonics will sustain, you can do what I call passing them back and forth. So what we have here, let me just play it and then I'll break it down. We've got the 7th fret, pull off to the 12th, back to the 7th, finally to the 5th. So what you're doing is kind of passing those harmonics back and forth, and it gives you kind of a cool technique. So what I'm doing is I'm getting ready to play the 7th fret natural harmonics first. Just gonna pluck those or strum those. Now I'm gonna use this finger, my middle finger in this case, to actually pull off the strings, just like that, while my index finger over here is shadowing the 12th fret. So that's kind of cool. So basically it's those two steps. We're going to play the 7th fret, and then use the left hand or the fretting hand to pull off and have the index finger over here with the 12th fret. And it's just that same thing back and forth. So 7th, 12th. You can use the first finger on your picking hand to pick a pull off as well, or strum rather. Strum, 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 and then maybe end off with the 5th fret. So have fun exploring all of those techniques. They're really cool and they sound so good in any context. Okay, let's take a look at example 16. This is a short fingerstyle etude called Northern Stars that utilizes these natural harmonics and in the context of a short little piece. So here it is.